Welcome to Rich Keys Trading Channel, where we unlock one candle at a time. Please pay attention to the disclaimer on your screen. And with that out of the way, let's get into the charts. Welcome back, my fellow traders and my team traders. This weekend, we want to look at the dollar index again, look at Bitcoin chart. So look at that SPX 500 and NASDAQ 100. And then if time permits, we shall examine opportunities in gold and silver commodity assets. I'll pretty much make it quick and go as fast as I can so that you can also have time and do your own analysis and share your perspective in the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking. Okay, so the dollar index on the weekly time frame, in my opinion, is formed something like a cup and handle pattern, right? And it's also on the weekly time frame giving us a bullish technically this is a hammer, okay, long wick closing green. The volume is pretty much reasonable to support the candle, so there aren't any price volume anomalies yet. um we also do see that our momentum hasn't ticked below zero, so there's still some strength for the dollar index. All right, but that's about all that we can infer from the weekly chart, which means we need to trade cautiously as the next week unfolds, because this gives it a potential bullish scenario. And this bullish scenario is confirmed once on the daily time frame we are able to close above this resistance zone. So where I have marked as invalidation level right here, if we are able to close above this level, holding a short against the dollar would be quite detrimental. However, for those of us holding short positions, this is the case that we have. This move up here to this resistance level, first of all, let's acknowledge this is a resistance level. Second, we also need to pay attention to these moving average crossovers right here, where your 21 and your 50 has officially now crossed over. That signals more favorable to the bears. Okay, the most important thing that I want you to pay attention to here is something I noted on my RSI. So if you look on your RSI indicator, we had a bullish divergence that gave us the move to where we are now. But currently where we are now too, we also have a hidden bear. Where is this hidden bear showing? This is our previous high, and we have made a lower high, and yet our RSI is made a higher high. Okay, so if you look carefully, this is our previous high. So this is a high that we made on RSI. We moved down, and now we have made a lower high. Should this hold and this resistance hold, we've made a lower high, but RSI has made a higher high. That's technically the hidden bull or hidden divergence that I'm talking about. So the trade plan coming into next week for the dollar index is we're going to watch this level carefully. If you don't have a trade already going on, you probably want to wait and get confirmation at this level, because what I'm trying to see with the dollar index is that this is doing a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave pattern, and this was a wave three, and we're now on our wave four, and the wave four should complete somewhere right around this level. Should we get a candle open and close above this level towards our invalidation level, you probably want to cut your trade loose and consider the cup and handle pattern that I showed on the weekly as the most valid pattern to play out. But again, considering the fundamentals of interest rate cut on the dollar and all that stuff, I don't envisage the dollar actually breaking this level. So that's my personal bias. Please, it's not financial advice. It's my personal bias that I would still hold my short. And if we do close above my invalidation level, yeah, I'll probably cut my trade loose and save my capital. So that's about most of the major things on the dollar index that I want to share. um, Knowing both is good because it helps you to be able to plan your trade as well as protect your capital, so you are not losing so much. But if the opportunity is right, then of course you're going to make a good slingshot down to the intended target. Now if we do break above this level, then obviously the next target we are looking at will be somewhere around 98, 99, at least somewhere to about this level potentially to do a triple top, or maybe who knows, if we break above this to a cup and handle target. I will show you the cup and handle target on my next video next week. So I wish you very well on your forex trade. If you're trading the dollar, the next asset I would like to look at is Bitcoin chart. Okay, and here is a weekly picture or chart of Bitcoin chart index. Data feed is from Coinbase, if you care to know. All right, so Bitcoin is currently holding a very important moving average that I'll show you in 2022 what happened when we got here. So as you can see, this kind of Torex line that you see here is actually a 100 EMA that I put on this chart. This is a 55 EMA, and this 9 and 21 EMA. All right, so you can clearly see that Bitcoin is respecting this moving average, and it's bounced off this moving average several times to a resistance zone, which I've labeled here as the Fib retrace of 0.382, and that's of the whole impulse from about this level to this low. Okay. All right, so on the weekly chart, that's about all that we can see. There's one thing that I'm quite sure of on this weekly chart is this sideways price action is more like an accumulation zone or a pause of a distribution, which means we just pausing here to continue. Now, the key here that I want to present this week is what we're seeing here. Is it accumulation for Bitcoin to go back up, or this is kind of accumulation for distribution, in other words, to sell further down, a continuation of this impulse move that we had all the way from 126,996. Okay, so that is the key question that I want to answer in this Bitcoin analysis. All the other targets and other analysis I've done, still hold value. You may revisit it if you're just not sure or which direction you want to place your buyers. All right, so let's get into this and go on down from. Actually, let's look at briefly also the weekly indicators. So weekly indicators, MACD is solidly still pointing down, although we are losing a little bit of momentum to the downside. All right, but nothing on the indicators suggests that we have finished our move down. We sold pretty hard on our RS high, got all the way to like 18, so that was pretty much very oversold. Similar to what we had here, and we bounced a little bit up, just as we have also bounced here. But until we do get a divergence here, and for us to get a divergence here means that price on this weekly time frame, okay, so go back to the chart. This is our low of our RSI, and then we bounce slightly. So for RSI to give us a divergence on this weekly time frame, we need price to come either to this same level, somewhere within this block, this 80,000, 82,000 block, or below, potentially to this level, all right, where RSI is higher, and then we get our divergence. At that point, yes, you could be looking for longs, potentially, what I'll call a bear market or a sell-off rally, probably to about at least the 0.382 level, which will be probably around somewhere around like 97, 98. But until that occurs, I find it very hard to see this as accumulation for a bounce to the upside. Let's go down to the daily chart where I'll confirm something that makes me more bearish on Bitcoin. So in one of my analysis video, I did show that this pattern that we have created here is a bear flag. Okay, so where is the bear flag? This is the pull of your flag. You just consolidated, pulled sideways towards this EMA, which is the 55 EMA. We didn't even touch it. I was thinking we were going to touch it, but we didn't. And then we formed this double top that started to push us down. And last week I was thinking potentially we could come into this liquidity zone. But guess what? We stopped right at 82, 84,000 thereabout, right here. Um, why we stopping here tells me, okay, maybe someone is also seeing value and accumulating here. Because again, the volume bars kind of support the candles, so we cannot really, dissect this very well. However, this Bearish flag gives me confirmation because guess what? We have broken below the lower boundary of this channel, of this bearish flag channel. We have retested the resistance of, or basically the base of the channel, and we are beginning to get rejection from the um, the support channel line right about here. Okay, once this becomes supported and we start to sell down to break this level, then obviously the bear flag target is in view, and that would mean that we come in somewhere, at least somewhere around 70,000 thereabout, and potentially we might get to our 2022 VWAP support level, which is about 58,000. Okay, so that's the view that I want to share on Bitcoin. Most importantly, is this bearish, continuation pattern that we have formed, and now we are getting confirmation of this bearish flag confirmation on Bitcoin. So that's about all that I want to also present on Bitcoin chart analysis. If you step down to the 4 hours, it's pretty much evident. You can see it clearly. We're in this channel consolidating. We are broken below the base of this channel, so hard, down and bounce slightly towards this level. So we'll be watching this 4 hour channel, boundary to see what happens. If you want to place a short on this chart and put a stop loss, I would say at least put your stop loss somewhere around here, okay? Because in case things don't work out and price retraces back into the channel, it means we could consolidate a little longer. But for now, we've broken clearly outside the channel, and I think this is pretty much set. Indicators wise, if you look, 4 hours, we RSI is not in the oversold level, so we have potential to come down. Um, Cycle wise, we're turning down our cycles. As you can see, we went up, we're coming back down. So things are set, and our fast MACD is also tipping down at the moment. We need to wait to gather some momentum to the downside. But everything is pretty much set for a bearish sell-off continuation on Bitcoin based on this pattern that I'm sharing today. All right, let's look at XPX 500 and NASDAQ 100 assets or chart analysis next. Okay, so here is a weekly chart of NASDAQ 100, chart, and this is getting quite challenging to trade because we go down hard, we go up hard, we go down hard, and now we have come back up. All right, now this is a bullish candle, of course, on the weekly chart. Strong wick at the bottom, long wick at the bottom. Green head. It's no doubt okay. Now, key question that we need to find out whether this is going to pan itself out into breaking this all-time resistance here is what probably we need to pay attention to in the next coming week, the Christmas week trading. I know a lot of people are looking for a Santa rally on the market. And at this point, I think they might get their Santa rally on the indices based on this pattern that we have formed from last week. Indicators wise doesn't support my course though, and so I'll either stay neutral and not participate in a rally yet until we break above this resistance, because what I see here is a distribution. Okay, and if you go to the daily chart, so last week when I did the analysis, we had this hammer here. And again, one would have also said, this hammer, we go up, similar to what we have on the weekly. Just because we have a weekly hammer doesn't always mean it's just going to go up. Because just like you can see here, we had this hammer here and we gapped down and we sold hard towards our target zone. Didn't quite get to where I was expecting, which was around this block, and we have bounced strongly back up close to where we began last week. Okay, so interestingly, I think this gap might be filled now. Okay, because last week I was just wondering whether this gap might be filled, and I didn't see when it will be filled. But considering the bullish case that we have now, I think we might come to close this gap, hit this resistance again, possibly, as I'm saying that, or as I'm saying that this is more of a distribution zone, and it's pretty wide a distribution zone. I mean, we between 23,000 and all the way down to 26,000. Okay, that's a good 3,000 points on the Nasdaq 100. Very difficult to trade in such a distribution zone of this range, right? Until we break above this, I think this is still in the distribution range. And until we break below this support, please trade cautiously because it looks like this is where manipulation is occurring. And the insiders or the market makers, will take advantage of this range trading opportunity. I mean, literally, we've been range trading since October, all right? Ever since October, big sell off, went up, came down, gone up, and then we came down small last week, but have bounced back up. So my 2 cents on the Nasdaq 100 is range bound. We potentially in the next coming week hit back to close this gap here, and maybe we may come back down. But we need to follow the chart day by day, 4 hour by 4 hour, hourly by hourly, candle by candle. All right, and the indicators wise on the daily, um, we're getting some momentum shift, but at the same time, this doesn't also suggest that we're cruising to a new all-time high, until proven otherwise. Okay, so that's about all that I want to share on the Nasdaq 100. Range trade within a wide, range bound. Trade cautiously, but I think in the coming week, this gap here would be filled. Let me look at the SPX 500 and see if the story is any different. Okay, and here's a daily chart for XPX 500. I think the story is very similar to what we saw on the NASDAQ 100. Here is again, these two candles overshadow this, giving you a bullish engulfing candle. So again, on this chart also, I think we might come and close this gap here, which means this resistance block here potentially will be targeted in the next coming week. Um, yeah, I think this target here will be targeted in the next coming week. Indicators wise, I don't see anything that suggests otherwise. We have a cycle low that is turned up, and we don't have a cycle turned down yet. So the only thing is, maybe just maybe this is a lower high from here to here. Um, where you sell down, find support, you push up, make higher low, and then maybe what in our next week coming we come down. So I guess you might want to pay attention to the next couple of days trading, whether we go up or whether we sell down. It will give you a bias, but currently nothing here suggests that we cannot close this gap, and so I'll be looking for this gap to close before the move down in our next coming trading session. I think I would be able to look at gold and silver briefly, and then we shall look at our stock trade for the week. Okay, and here's a weekly chart of gold, and I'll try and make this as quick as possible. Gold is done what we were looking for last week. That this tops here would be retested. This 43.81 level came right to it as we are looking for it last week. That this was a very bullish candle overshadowing this bearish, and therefore the push up was inevitable. The problem is now this is a perfect double top. We could probably in the next coming week push slightly higher to this level where I've labeled as 12H wave 5 0.618 level, because on a 12-hour chart, that's the completion of the wave 5 that it's forming. And so I envisage that we could potentially make a quick move here, creates the perfect divergence before coming down. Now, however, if that should not happen, we should realize that on the indicators, we are already reaching our cycle high with a divergence as well. So you might want to wait and see whether in the next coming week we push up to that high and maybe you want to take a short there, or you probably just want to wait, give yourself, time. There's nothing wrong keeping your capital and holding and sitting on the sidelines for confirmation and wait to see whether we get a reversal from this level, okay, in the next coming week when market opens, whether we get a push up and a reversal and then maybe you could take your short next week. But definitely taking a long position here is not attractive to me. I'll sit on the sidelines for long and probably be looking for a short position instead on gold. If you look at your RSI, if assuming that we are not able to touch the 618 level that I'm watching, this is a very strong divergence on RSI where you have hit the same high, but your RSI has made this okay. So again, like I said, the only problem on the weekly chart as I'm looking is that we don't have a confirmation. But other than that, this is pretty much set for the bears, or for kind of a pullback. I wouldn't call that bearish scenario, a good pullback that I'm expecting. And should this happen, then of course, pullback target as I'm watching at least is to somewhere around, initial target is 38.26, somewhere here. Okay. And then ultimate target that I would love to see gold come to will be a test of this 50 weekly EMA. That will give us a bounce for sure from this level. So that's about all that I want to share on gold. Let's look at silver briefly. And this is the weekly chart of silver. Silver has been the most monstrous chart for the year. I must give it credit. You know, pulled back and we rallied strongly all the way to the target that I was looking for last week. We almost right there, which is almost at 68, 379 is my target, for silver to touch. We almost there. And I think considering the fact that the volumes are good, okay, the pullback was very shallow and the volumes here have picked up. When you see price rising and the volumes bar increasing, that tells you it's a trend. You cannot stop that train easily. All right. We don't have that train coming to a halt anytime soon. So let's see. I think in the next coming week, definitely silver will hit this target, and we'll see what happens at this level. But in terms of RSI, we're getting some form of a divergence because this is your previous high. You've gone to much higher high, but your divergence is forming. It's just not confirmed, and that's the only key. So I still want to go long even on this monstrous chart because yeah, the risk reward is a little bit sketchy for me. But obviously, our long term or our long period RSI is still showing momentum to the upside. However, we are at 80, 83. Okay, when we got down to 80, we pulled back. We are now at 88. So who knows? It's not attractive to buy at this level because it's just overstretched, and we might be getting a pullback sometime towards these moving averages. So there you have it on silver. Bullish, but cautious if you want to still go long. All right. I think I'll look at our next stock trade for the coming week. Okay, so here comes the juicy part of our analysis for the weekend. Last week, we had the two trades that we were looking to take advantage of. And I must say, this one worked very well for me. Red Wire, I think, gave me some good profit. I saw this resistance at the 200, so I took my profit right about $8.40 right at the top. So I'm currently not in the position, but I'll be looking to jump on as the volumes are convincingly telling me that potentially we would be able to break this resistance position here. And should we break this resistance level, of course, our next target is about $10 on red wire. Still looking bullish. Indicators wise on the weekly tells us that nothing has changed. Our fast MACD is already giving us the green light this time. So all clear skies except for the moving average resistance there. Um, so I'll be looking at red wire in the next coming week. I'll also be looking at Planet Labs. Unfortunately, I didn't get filled on Planet Labs, so I'm not in a trade. I didn't participate on there because I didn't like my entry. And then I'll share another one that I just discovered over the last week, and that will be coming up soon. All right, so here's Planet Lab. Like I said, and I was looking to get my entry somewhere around this level. We came close, like 1629, 1630. Unfortunately, I didn't get filled, and the move started moving, and I didn't want to chase it, so I stayed out of this. But I think this might make it to the intended target of about $20 in the next coming week. So for those that still want to participate on this one, it's not much of a risk reward for me, so I won't participate on Planet Labs in the coming week. However, let me look at the RSI on Planet Labs. So here again, you're getting some kind of a divergence as well. This is why I say the risk reward is not for me on Planet Lab. And again, like on Red Wire, until that resistance at the 200 moving average is broken, you want to be cautious also on that one. But that one also has a lot of potential. The other, stock that I'll be looking to take an advantage on in the next coming week is ISSC. Let me see where that is. This one right here. Okay, ISSC. Now they had earnings this past week, and the earnings was spectacular. Um, the estimate for their revenue was somewhere around 80 million. They came out with 22.25. At least they did a surprise of almost 23%, which investors really did like. And so, as you can look on the chart, obviously this is a strong Marabuzu candle, very bullish, strong bullish candle, supported on good volume as well, great volume. Indicators wise for the weekly, RSI is in a positive, strong territories. Our cycle is already almost above the 70% to 80% mark. That doesn't mean it's going to end there, but it just tells me you can get some move to the upside before it turns back down. But I like what I'm seeing on MACD. We just have our first MACD crossover with a green histogram bar. So I'll be looking for entries on this one. I really don't know if we get a good pullback when market opens, but I'll probably staircase myself into this one. In other words, I'll be looking for pullback and enter for the long. At least I expect us to break above this resistance here. And so my target is somewhere at least about what, close to $20 or a little bit above $20. But we'll go on the daily chart and see how far the daily chart goes. As you can see, this gap here that was created somewhere in August, more likely it's going to get filled. We already filled most of it. So I think $20 target on this chart is pretty much guaranteed. Volume wise, as you can see, volume is good, supporting it. Of course, the only caveat is the gap up that we had here, and I don't think this is going to be a pullback to close the gap in the next coming week. We're probably just going to do a pullback slightly as we are kind of quite overstretched outside our KC channel as well as our Bollinger Band. So hopefully a little pullback would be great, but with such strong move, sometimes it doesn't pull back and it leaves you just like PL did, Planet Labs did for me last week. So this weekend analysis has been a little bit at least reasonable. It's within 30 minutes, and I appreciate your time listening to my analysis. Have a great trading week, everybody, and I wish you the best of trades. Cheers. Thank you for listening and unlocking trade ideas and insights with us. One candle changed everything today. I hope you can already see how today's analysis can transform your trading decisions. If today's breakdown helped you spot opportunities or potential risks you would have otherwise missed, please consider subscribing and imagine what we will uncover together next time. Kindly give the video a like and share with an investor or a trader you care about. They would thank you when it saves them from a bad trade or a missed opportunity. Until next time, keep unlocking profits one candle at a time, and we'll meet again in the next video presentation. Cheers.